What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Plus Money Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Q. You can follow me on all socials at Bets by Q. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Black Sheep Betting. First of all, just want to say apologies for yesterday. I recorded the podcast and I queued it up for today. So, and I think I fixed it, but all of that to say, there wasn't a podcast yesterday, even though I thought that there was. In all honesty, the play that I gave out yesterday would have fumbled. So, let's move on. We're having a really good year. Second play for March. I'll make up for yesterday's podcast. I'm going to drop 2 plays for you today. Of course, check out those links in the bio. One for the VIP, one for the Discord chat. Check out the VIP. There's a bunch of different packages and free trials and those sorts of things. But let's get on a roll. But before we do, we've got a lot of college basketball. You've got to pick your spots appropriately, all right? I don't really like to dabble in the conference tournaments that much. Maybe when we get to the later stages of it all, but how about this Miami, Ohio team? I mean, there's talks about this team not even making the tournament. Imagine, they go undefeated, they lose in their conference tournament, and they don't make the dance. There's a lot of stuff going on right now in the sports world. Lots of changes. NHL trade deadline is approaching. MLB's up and running for spring training. And of course, I think the World Baseball Classic begins today. So we've got a lot on our plate. But this is the podcast that you want to be tuned into for the plus money, for the value. I'm going to be giving it to you every single day from around the sports world. Let's head over to Indian Wells for a first-round matchup that I think is very interesting. The old geezer, Adrian Manarino, takes on Matteo Berrettini, okay? Clash of styles is what this one will be. We've got the slow hard courts of Indian Wells and Manarino with his left-handed flat ball junk baller who loves to, take pace off the ball, make matches very uncomfortable. The definition of a pusher, if there was one. And then on the other side, obviously, you've got Berrettini, power player, classic style, huge serve and forehand combo. From a form standpoint, Manarino's been a little up and down this season. He's 500 on the year, 11-11. Did make a solid run to the finals in Montpellier. But he's coming off a straight sets loss to Sho Shimabukuro in Acapulco. 37 years old. His game really relies on rhythm and timing. So when that's slightly off, it does show. Berrettini, on the other hand, kind of in a rebuilding phase. Got a new coach, trying to stabilize his game. Physically, he looks healthier than he has been in the last few years. Winning about 66% of his matches so far this year, though most of that has come on clay. Now we transition, obviously, onto the hard courts. So from a serve standpoint, this is where I think the contrast shows up. Berrettini, much cleaner hold game. Historically, he holds around 86% of the time on hard courts. Manarino closer to about that 80% mark. But his serve is not about power. It's about placement. It's about angles. So if he's missing spots, Berrettini's going to step in and attack the second serve. But I think the real story here is the matchup dynamics. For Manarino to win this match, he needs to make it an ugly match, okay? Low flat balls, lefty angles, long rallies, basically drag Berrettini into those side-to-side exchanges where, Matteo's movement can break down. So Berrettini's path is the opposite, honestly. First strike tennis, big serve, big forehand, keep points, under 5 or 6 shots. If the rallies extend, that's when Manarino starts to dictate the rhythm. We know this is a slow, hardcore, high bounce here. I think the slower conditions obviously help Manarino defend. But the bounce, effect is going to help that ball sit right in Berrettini's forehand strike zone. So it's going to be a bit of a tug of war stylistically. Manarino owns his head-to-head 2-0, including a win last year in Shanghai. Just one of those players that it seems like annoys Berrettini because of the pace and the rhythm that, Adrian plays with. So even though Berrettini probably and, certainly has the higher ceiling right now, I think the matchup favors Manarino. Give me Adrian Manarino to upset Berrettini in the Indian Wells first round matchup plus 200. All right. Adrian Manarino plus 200 to defeat Matteo Berrettini. Okay. Second play. We're going to the Islanders and the Ducks. This is a pickup. Think the public will probably come in on the Ducks. They've been a bit trendy lately, but this is really a form versus form matchup, okay? Right now, the Islanders, one of the hotter teams in the league. They've won 5 straight, 3 in a row since the Olympic break. But more importantly, the identity of a team that is starting to show again, all right? Structured defense, disciplined, neutral zone play, very strong goaltending. When the Islanders are winning games, it usually looks the same. Low event hockey, uh, you know, minimal high danger shots, capitalizing on mistakes, very physical game. During this 5-game win streak dating, pre-Olympic break, they've tightened things up defensively. Goaltending's been excellent. It's a roster that looks like they're built to win. And then we look at Anaheim. Ducks are a young team. They're still figuring things out. They're a very streaky team, okay? They struggle against teams that play structured defensive hockey because it limits their transition chances, all right? This is a young, fast team. Anaheim's been pretty inconsistent offensively all year on the road, near the bottom of the league in scoring efficiency and shot generation when on the road. I guess both of these teams pushing for these playoff spots, right, and playoff positioning in the East and in the West, respectively. But, every game does matter right now. Anaheim, meanwhile, beginning of the year, one of the first plays I gave out to you was Anaheim to make the playoffs, right? I got a buddy. He's an Anaheim junkie, absolute diehard fan. He said, hey, we're going to make some changes this year. We're going to make the playoffs. It's looking like that could be the case, right? We still got a lot of time and room for error. But this is a Ducks team that's in a developmental phase with a young roster. They've struggled on the road. I think that when you combine the current form, the defensive edge, the motivation factor here, sets up for a really good spot for the Islanders to keep that win streak rolling. Give me the Islanders to make it 6 straight at minus 105. I think this is playable to minus 115. I wouldn't go any higher than that. But yeah, Islanders to defeat the Ducks, minus 105. Lock it in. I will see you at the counter. All right, 2 plays on the board making up for that fumble that I had yesterday on the podcast. We're on Adrian Manarino plus 200 in his first round matchup at Indian Wells against Matteo Berrettini for 1 unit. And of course, we're on the New York Islanders on the money line minus 105 against the Anaheim Ducks on the road for 1 unit. All right, 2 units on the board. I'll be back here tomorrow with more plus money plays from around the sports world. I hope to see you in the Discord. I hope to see you in the VIP. But as always, I'll be back here tomorrow. And I hope each and every one of you hit each and every one of your bets. Peace.